Hi there, Holly Duckworth here, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique Practitioner Level 3. And the topic I'd like to talk about today is worry. I have so many clients that come in for QHHT sessions, and they're asking questions that really, when we boil down to the nut of it, it's really about worry. And I've kind of come to figure out that there's about 3 different kinds of worry, and I'm gonna talk about all 3 of those here briefly. So the first kind of worry that I think is out there and is particularly destructive is worry about the future. Worry about what the world's going to be like in the future, worried about our individual lives in the future, maybe worried about our jobs in the future, maybe personal things, global things, but worried about things that haven't yet happened. And one of my favorite quotes is from Mark Twain, and he said, the worst things that ever happened to me never happened to me. And I love that because it basically says that we spend so much of our lives spun up into, ooh, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And we have the capacity with our imaginations to create the most horrible, awful disasters that are probably never going to happen to us. And so then we spend our time, which means we spend our lives, in this terrible, disastrous future that is only in our imagination. So one kind of worry is this postulating about the future and spinning our imaginations into some horrible future. So that's one kind of worry. The other kind of worry that I see clients struggle with is worrying about what other people think of them. And so trying to do what's right in somebody else's criteria of what's right. And so then we spend our lives worrying about, what did they think of me? Did I do the right thing? Am I prepared to even do the right thing? Do I even know how to do the right thing? And so then we again spin ourselves out of control in terms of trying to abide by someone else's standards, and we may not even know what those standards are. And so it's what we imagine their standards are. So it's an imaginative standard that we're trying to abide by in order to please someone else. And we waste our lives spending time worrying about that. The last form of worry, and maybe this actually is the only acceptable form of worry, but I'll caution us to maybe put a different light on it than worry, and that is worrying about losing loved ones. Of course, those that we care about, those that are near and dear to us, we want to share our lives with them. And so another form of worry, and especially as a mom, I totally get this, is worry about those we loved. And as a mom, worried about our children. Are they going to be safe? Are they going to be safe and prepared and ready and, living their lives as they should in the world, in a happy and healthy way? And so that's the third kind of worry that I see, is that worry about the welfare of those that we love. And so anytime we're throwing this worry energy into the world, that's fear energy, that's not love energy. And so we're actually putting negative energy into the universe. Don't do that. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution, right? And so when we find ourselves worrying, we really, and we want to be a part of manifesting positive energy into the world, then we need to stop ourselves. And we need to train ourselves not to worry and control ourselves so that we aren't polluting our environment with negative energy. So let me talk about each of those 3 and maybe what to think about instead of the worry. If I'm worried about the future, whether it's the future of the world or it's the future of me or my family or my town or the future of anything, and I'm spinning into then these worst things that ever happened to me never happened to me, then one of the ways that we can turn that around is just remember to be in the now. Your life isn't lived in the future, it isn't lived in the past, it's lived right now. And so if you're worried about the future of the earth, the environment, or whatever, go pick up some trash. Be active, do something if you need to. Better yet, then just live in the now and appreciate the now that you have. No tomorrow is even promised. And so we can only live in the now. So once you start finding yourselves worrying about all of these future potential horrible disasters, bring yourself back into the now. That's all you have. That's all you'll ever have. If I'm worried about what others might think of me, I've got news, okay? They're actually not interested in you at all. Everybody's walking around worried about themselves, focused on themselves. And so even if others are judging you, that's really just a reflection of them and not a reflection on you. They're judging you and maybe judging you harshly because they judge themselves. It's a reflection of them. And so maybe by breaking yourself free from judgment of others, maybe you're actually going to be a model of how to live in love and not judgment. And so maybe the challenge is to very specifically not live in fear of what others think. In other words, not abide by the judgment of others as a role model, as a way to just live in kindness and love without judgment and fear. And you might actually be turning that very person around that is judging you into some freedom for themselves. So think about it that way. When you're really trying to live up to others' expectations, stop, okay? And live in love, live in kindness, and recognize that other people's judgment of you is really just a reflection of themselves. And maybe you can free them from that by your modeling. The last one, the loss of a loved one, this is tough. And like I said, I'm not so sure we can completely wipe away this fear, nor should we try to distance ourselves from our love of our loved ones. But maybe what we can do is turn that negative energy, that fear energy, into love energy. And the way we can do that is instead of worrying about, what my son or daughter might be doing when they're not in my presence and safety, or maybe if I can't be with a loved one in a time of challenge and I'm worried about them. Maybe what I can do is turn that back into love energy in a way that brings my focus to the appreciation of the time that we do have together, okay? If it's my children, go spend some time with them and appreciate that moment today, and be in that love energy of that moment today, as opposed to worrying about what might happen, what the worry of the loss of that loved one. We will lose loved ones. That's an important part of the human experience, is to feel grief. We are all going to feel it. And so what that does, knowing that that grief is out there, should drive us into an appreciation of that moment that we have in the presence of our loved ones. And so maybe if we focus on that moment and are present in that moment and appreciate that moment, then maybe that can dampen the worry about losing them just a little bit. Okay, so that's just a little bit of what I've learned in my QHHT practice with the wisdom of all of my clients and all the wonderful people that I get to work with. Thank you for listening.